Hi, everyone, and welcome. Tonight, we are so excited to welcome Jen Maddock, who is a teacher consultant. Good. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
I'm so glad to join you.
Excellent. So, we're so excited to talk about toddler academics, especially as a mom of two toddlers. I can't
Yeah.
wait to pick your brain on everything.
Yes, I'm so excited too.
Great. So, you're a teacher consultant. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a teacher consultant?
Yeah, so I was a teacher for 7 years. I have a Master of Arts in Teaching and a background in language arts. So I taught language arts at the middle school and upper elementary level for 7 years. And then I did some coursework at Johns Hopkins, and I have a brain research and education certificate from there. And through that time, I did the National Writing Project. And so I'm a teacher consultant for them. So right now, we're preparing to go to some schools in the fall and help them to build stronger like reading and writing communities and programs at their schools. So I do that kind of on the side along with baby quip and taking care of my two kids. So
Excellent. And you apply everything that you know to your little kids' education and
yes,
knowledge, which is amazing. And now we get to learn from you some
yes,
tools that we can implement as parents at home with our own little ones.
yes, exactly. So one of the things that I kind of really wanted to share was just that. So as a former seventh grade teacher, which is where I taught last, something that we see, and you probably have heard this from, I think your kids are still younger, but if you have friends with older kids, a lot of people will tell you that there's this switch probably around the third grade where they say things were going so well, but all of a sudden she had a really tough year or it got really, really hard. And what I know as an educator is that this is around the time where the focus goes from learning how to read in the previous grades and younger to actually reading for information. And so you'll see
Wow.
something that we call, we're familiar with it as adults, the idea that the rich get richer. It's called
Mm-hmm.
the Matthew effect. But it's the same for intelligence too, is that these compounding effects keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So by the seventh grade, when a student would get to me, if they had deficits in certain areas, it was getting larger and larger, and they were falling further and further and further behind from their classmates. And so as a mom now, I'm kind of on the other end, so like at the opposite end of the spectrum, saying, okay, well, what can we do to sort of combat this? Like, what do I know as an educator and through my consulting experience? How do I fix this? And so I think we all know some things, and most people that are watching this or tuning in are doing so many great things. Like we know that experiences, for example, like that's why so many parents, we have all these baby quit parents that are looking to travel. That is one of the very best things you can do. There is no replicate, there's no book that can give you the beach. You can look at it, you can
Right.
see it.
Right.
There's no, I can't even think of the word, but there's no substitute for that actually doing things. So,
And that's why starting so young is so important.
yes.
So you
So
cannot
even
begin young enough.
Yes. So even though we say like, oh my gosh, it's a trip, not a vacation, it does have so much value in an academic perspective too. So experiences with everything, books, as we all know, like we're reading to our kids as much as possible. But I'm going to add a couple things today that I think are probably things parents are probably already doing, but I'm going to give a couple tweaks to them to give a little bit more of an academic perspective, and that will kind of prep your children and give them a little bit of an advantage. So the third piece to so basically we're trying to, the thing that I think sets kids apart is background knowledge. And so we've talked about two ways we get that. And a third way that I think is just through conversation. And so, you hear a lot about people saying like, talk to your kids, talk to your kids. And it seems weird because there's a point where, especially with little kids, like they're not talking back. So I'm talking like you're talking to them, at them, well before you think that they understand it. So this looks like narrating a lot of your day and doing these things before they even understand.
Right.
And so some of the things that I'm going to share today kind of piggyback on that and will extend and give some more opportunities for conversation that I think are really, really important for building this academic advantage.
I remember as a parent, like being at the pediatrician and my pediatrician saying, talk to your baby at a
Yeah,
very, like, I want to say like 4 month checkup.
yeah.
And I was like, okay. And yeah, just talk to
Well,
your baby as much.
I remember my husband when we had my oldest is 3 and my youngest is almost 2. But I remember with my first son, my husband was like, "Who are you talking to?" And like the baby was just sitting in, like a little thing where they're propped up, and I'm like, "I'm talking to him." Like, and I was just narrating my day, and I
Right.
still do that now. And the older he's getting, the more it's a conversation back and forth. But I really do think that some of the areas that I see him excelling is attributed to some of the things that I'm going to share today. So I'm really excited to
I'm
share
excited. So
some of those.
you've got some fun activities for us. I'm really
Yes.
excited to see everything. So let's jump in with
Okay.
counting down.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about counting down, how it works, and
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so this is not a new concept, but the twist that I'm going to put on it is, so you've all seen these beautiful chain link. Everyone's talking about them. You probably had it in your own school classroom, counting down to the last days of school or to a holiday that you celebrated. But I'm putting a new spin on it that gives it sort of an even further advantage. So that is awesome. So if people are doing that, keep doing that. Like, it is great. It gives something that's abstract time. It gives the kids something tangible to kind of connect to, like, okay, this is representing that, because time is so hard to understand. But I'm taking it a step further, and I'm going to show you 2 things that I do with it. One is that I do pictures with my countdowns. So mine started to look like this. And then as I got along and got more creative, I was like, well, what if I used I went to the craft store and got some paper that was more like related to what the countdown was. So when my son first started school, I think I made the paper like teachery type paper to try to like have some connection. And then after a while, I was like, well, I could, even do that a step further. And so now what I do is 2 things. The first is I take images for whatever we're counting down to. So I have 2 to share with you today. This first one is pre it becoming into the actual countdown. So my family is traveling. We're traveling this summer to South Haven, Michigan. And so this is an example of one I could do as our trip draws near. So if you look, I have where we live. I have a picture of the United States, where we're heading. And then I have some things that are unique to the spot that we're going to, or some things that I plan on us doing. The beaches we don't have, and then sort of this boogie board idea that they might do. And then what I do is I use this and I determine somewhere, I would say not anymore, depending on your kid's age, 10 to 14 is tops probably, because it gets kind of
Yeah.
long.
Toddlers, they have attention spans for so long and then they want the like ending, reward, whatever it may be. So yeah.
Yes. So I use this and I just put a line here so you could see, like, this is where I would cut. It doesn't have to be perfect. It will make the chain even if it's not, but each of these becomes a strip. And
And
so
do
I'm
you
going
tell them ahead of time or you just begin with the chain? Or do you
to,
explain with them and show them the picture and then build the chain?
I actually do it where it's a clue reveal. So they don't
Ooh,
know that it's making this. Okay.
cute.
So
Okay.
I'll show you that one. I just wanted you to see, like, this would be the end result of what they would see. So this is for our vacation. If you knew your actual, like, you had your Airbnb picture or something, like, you could put that in the middle. Like, you're just sort of priming them for what to expect. Like, you're
So it's
revealing
a
clues.
puzzle. They have to put
Yeah.
the puzzle together every night to build
Yeah.
where they're going, which is
Yes.
exciting.
Here's another one I want to show you. This one's upside down. This one is for a countdown for a birthday. So my youngest is going to be
Oh,
turning 2.
cute.
So I did the number
Hmm.
because at some point I want him to recognize, like, that is his age. I also do a milestone. So fingers crossed, I would
Oh,
like to have both of my children potty trained, which so I'm priming him for something that I hope that happens for him this year. And then the last one is possibly his theme
oh,
for his birthday. So I know that this would be things that he loves. So I would do the same thing. So the last part of this though, and then I'm going to actually show you specifically how to do it, is on these strips. So rather than it just being this, not only does it have like our personalized images, but it is also going to have something on the back. So the back here, I am doing for the trip, I might do things that we'll see and like just tell them like, oh, I can't wait to play in the sand with you. Or like
So even more clues. So every day they get even more of a hint
they get
with the picture and then words.
more clues, more background, more things, priming them for the experience they're going to have. I also would do like for this instance, for the birthday one, this year you'll learn how to. I also do a lot of like, it's also meant in my mind to be a like fill up their love cup. So
oh, that's so
I
sweet. Yeah.
I love how and so you could even have everyone in the family do that. So like something my husband loves, something that I love, because you have the number that you have of the days that you count down.
Right.
So I also did like my favorite memory from this year going into like my favorite memory of you as one. Like I love how you always slept in your bed with books instead of stuffed animals, because he did that. So basically I would just etch out really roughly 10 days, and then I would start counting literally like this. I would take it, I would cut it like this, and this would become my first loop. So I staple it, and then I keep proceeding. It needs to make sure that you keep cutting in order though, because it needs to be
Yeah, you can't mess up and then
the next
you're
piece.
going all over the place.
So you keep going like that until you've cut all of them, the number that you wanted. You can make them thicker if they're younger and you do a shorter countdown. And essentially what you end up is with your chain link that looks just like the other one, but that now has your personal picture. And so then what you will do is you will go to your child and you will say like, oh my gosh, it's 10 days till your birthday. We're so excited. We love you so much. We want to tell you some things we love about you, and we're so excited you're going to do this year. You tear off the bottom one, read your little love note or memory, and that night you say 10 more sleeps till your birthday. And then I'm pretending that this is the door. We usually put ours on our door, and then we like tape it up.
Cute.
And then keep taping. So then the next day, same thing, and we would tape it up. And then they're sort of going along the time, Mama, look, that looks like. And then we're having a lot of conversations about like what this picture is revealing type thing.
Right.
So do you want to keep going, or you got that?
Yeah, no, I love that. So it's basically you're putting together a puzzle. It's got all these different clues for your little one to kind of piece it all together. And at the end, it's the big surprise of what's going to happen. What's the big experience? So from an education knowledge standpoint from your little one, what else are they gaining from doing this?
Well, a couple things. There's one thing that I want to talk about. So in addition to, we talked before about kind of priming them about what to expect. That is huge. One thing that
it kills the anxieties too. So if they're a little nervous, this is making an exciting experience.
And I found with my oldest, especially with something as far as potty training, it took a lot of priming before you actually do it. So to even talking about it as you transition from 1 to 2, like it's just like, okay, I'm making note of something that's going to happen. Like it relieves some of that anxiety. One thing that I think is really important to note is that in a lot of the research that I did in my coursework with Johns Hopkins, we were doing some sort of fleshing out identities of people and parents even with regards to math and reading. And one thing that we found in some of the studies that we were looking at was that parents in general, and people really in general, have a much higher likelihood of claiming themselves to not be math people. Mm-hmm. But it's not really what you would say. You wouldn't say the same equivalent to reading. So you wouldn't say, oh, I'm just not a words person. You might say like, oh, I don't avidly read if the person doesn't read. But no one really proclaims themselves not a words person. Like that would be a strange thing to say. And so what I think parents or people are saying when they say that is like, I wasn't an algebra 3 person or whatever that
Right. It
class
wasn't their
was.
favorite thing to do, or, they struggled with it and didn't enjoy it.
Yes. And so I think like getting this idea that like just familiarizing and having these concepts of math and numeracy as a part of your life and as a part of things you do with your kids is giving a comfort level to them that makes them not write themselves off as that when they come to school, which I think is a really valuable piece that I think sometimes people don't consider.
Yeah, starting at such a young age with all of this is so beneficial. It's helping them prepare, like you said, and math skills is improving,
Yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
So
right. So if you guys have questions or anything, please comment below. Jen is happy to answer. I'll read them off to her. But anything else you want to touch on about?
yeah, one other thing that I wanted to just say about countdowns is not
Mhm.
only can you do it in the strips, but my son has also been asking lately about like how long does it take to get there, or how long does this take, or how long.
Oh,
And so some things that we are doing are same as this, like we're attaching these rings to a day. So to find a way that you can attach a time to something that your toddler recognizes. So my son loves music. We listen to music every day. We love songs. And so he has the concept of how long about a song is. So whether it's you have something like that they can attach it to, hey, it will be 2 songs until we get to school, or it like just kind of giving that sort of other representation. Or the other thing that you could do is to use one of those. We have one of those colored timers that you move the dial to. I don't know if you have that.
yes.
And sort of timing things that they do. So tonight you might time bath time and say, oh, tonight it took 10 minutes. And then tomorrow when you're doing something else that takes equal time, oh, this is about the same amount of time you took in the bath last night.
Yes.
So just kind of having conversations just help them see that kind of connection, I think is
Yeah.
really,
I
really,
swear by the timer for my kids. It just
yeah,
gives them like a realistic kind of
yeah,
like, oh, okay, it's time to end this, or we're
yeah,
moving, before we go to school, I set the timer so they know how much time they have left to either play, eat, do whatever they're doing, to move on.
absolutely.
And I personally experience that it lessens the kind of stress and anxiety that they may feel. And also, tantrums don't really happen personally
Yeah,
because they know it's happening. I've let them know, I've set the timer, and when it
yeah,
goes off, we're moving on.
yes, exactly. Yes. So yeah,
Excellent.
well, that's what I do for counting. And I think
I
that
love
that
it.
is just a couple of small things you can do.
And it's
Um,
super fun. I mean, anybody can do this.
yes,
You can even draw a picture. You don't have to like print it. I mean, you could do anything and whip it up
yes,
really quick, and your toddler's going to have a great time with it, and they're going to be learning at the same time, which is amazing.
yes, 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 yes.
So next, let's talk about bucket lists. So
Yeah.
when I think of bucket lists, I really don't think of little ones. So I'm excited to hear about this one.
Yeah, so bucket list is something, believe it or not, you know what it is. It's, keeping a list of things that you want to accomplish or do. But we're doing this in ways that you probably don't realize. So if you're planning a trip for this summer, I guarantee you are sitting down with your spouse or partner and you're saying like, okay, what are we going to do with these kids? Where are we going to go? You might be, if you're using Baby Equip, reaching out to your quality provider and being like, hey, I saw this. What else is there? But so you're essentially already doing this. But the difference that I'm putting on this is you're actually more than just showcasing your son or daughter, like, look, we might go here. You're putting it up visually in a spot for them to see it, to prime them even further and get this conversation going back and forth for a longer time. So you could use something as simple as what I made before that I didn't chop up for this countdown. Could be the same thing. This could also be just plopped up on the wall. I put mine in 2 spots. So I took this off to show you, but this started as a way to get my oldest from staying at the diaper changing area without flying off, grabbing things he's not supposed to. And
We
so,
have all been there.
yeah, so I just bought that strip of plywood, a couple dollars, and I used to cut out what was coming up that month. So for Memorial Day, flags, all these different things. And so as he was sitting there and I was changing him, we were talking and pointing and he was identifying things. And it was just sort of a way to familiarize him for what is coming. Like, this is
That's
coming.
amazing. And at what age did you see that he started to like recognize and engage? Because that's
Oh,
incredible.
it was insane. I did it honestly. It started on accident because I love Halloween, and I was
Me too. Me too.
terrified that he was going to hate Halloween and I wouldn't be able to put up stuff. So I was like, how can I, just like you probably already do, like, we're going to grandma's house, you need to do this, you need to not do this. We're leaving the park when we say, we're priming them for these things all the time. So I was doing that, but as a way to get him to love Halloween so he wasn't scared when he saw a witch or whatever. And
Right.
so it reinforced those things when we went out in public, because he was pointing and he was like, I know that. That's a witch. And it gave
Yeah.
him a confidence. It gave him, it was amazing
It
how,
wasn't shocking for him to see these things which
no,
aren't in everyday life.
yes. And so it went from, okay, how can we do this seasonally to just sort of prime them, like we keep saying, for what they're going to see, to, okay, well, how can, as he's gotten older, this has transferred now to, I put this next to the toilet because we're all in there all the time. He's fully potty trained now, but we're still in there a lot. So this sits next to the toilet, and this is what I hope to do this summer. And
Oh,
so he is totally like, what is that? What is that? Like, we're talking about camping, we're talking about staying at a hotel, we're talking about snow cones. And so for some of these kids, it's
cute.
their first time ever seeing this. But rather than just that day, we're getting a snow cone. Like, this is an ongoing conversation about these things. And so there's so much you can do with it. Like, for my son, for the holidays, we did things on, we celebrate Christmas. So we did things and we put similar pictures, but for the places that I wanted him to go, like the light display or whatever that were like in our city, we put them on things. And as we did them, we take them off and hang them up. So it
Oh,
was like,
that's
these are the things
cute.
you've done. And so then he's naming, I mean, if you think of how many times you're in the bathroom, he's naming like, oh, mama, I want to go camping. And like, he never knew that word before. And
Right,
so
right.
I'm giving him this vocabulary. And what we know is that long term, like, if you think of yourself as a student, like, I don't remember history from high school because I took a quiz or test at the end. So I crammed that day or that week or that whatever, and it's done. This kind of eliminates that because it is an ongoing, and it's still up there after you went, and then you're talking about it again when you're planning the next thing, like, oh my gosh, we should go back and get snow cones again. You love that blueberry flavor. And it just kind of keeps the conversation going and gives them this knowledge that they wouldn't otherwise have, I really don't think, if this
I
was not.
think this is genius. I mean, it also, if you go somewhere and there's going to be snow cones, they're going to recognize that snow cone and get
Yes,
excited for it, opposed to being kind of like thrown into it. Like, here's your snow cone. Like, how do
yes,
I eat this? What do I do with it? And you're, as a parent, like, it's so exciting, but they don't have that knowledge of what it is to be excited.
absolutely.
Um, so
And I
preparation, I think, is amazing with this.
And I think too, this can then transfer to so many things. So if you did do one for a trip, this could be a picture of an inside of an airplane. Like, find a row, show them an aisle seat, talk about these things, like, and then they're going in an airplane and they've seen what it looks like. So it,
That's so smart. And they could identify their seat number if you had it and put it on there so that when they get on the plane, they could look for the numbers. Yes,
yes.
I love
And we
this.
were so lucky. Like, I reached out, even though I'm a QP, I reached out to quality providers where we're going, and they were all so kind. So if you are renting from Baby Quip, please consider doing this as a way to, like, if you're thinking, I don't have time to do this, ask your QPs where to go and then literally Google search the image. It does not take you long, and then pop it up, cut it out, tape it to your wall. But
Right.
Stacy Quinn was amazing. They were all amazing. They all responded. But Stacy Quinn did a workup of every place to go. I mean, I have names of ice cream shops. I have names of different, like, so many things. So your pictures could be that. And then that could even go with you in the car. That could be, if you're taking a car, that could be your scavenger hunt. That
I
could
was
be
just
your
thinking that, that could be, yeah, while you're
that could
driving.
be a photo card. That could be, even when you come back, that could be your photo albums going next to the places, and this is all making it be that long-term retention that is then a part of their vocabulary forever. And then they're going to school with this advantage that other kids will not have. Not to
Right.
mention that you are like, so there's so many things you could do with it. You could ask your kids, especially as they get older, like, which one was your favorite? Which spot was your favorite? Why was that your favorite? And then you're looking at like, then you're making an argument. You're giving evidence. Like, you're doing so many skills that you're not even realizing at the time have to do with school, but they're going to give them an advantage once they get to that because you've been doing it on some level.
Right.
And
And it also will make learning for them fun if once they
yeah,
do go to school. They won't dread it because they're going to go in with the advantage, like you said. They're going
yeah,
to go in being excited. And also, when your little one is in school, you're able to take the information that they're going to be learning and use it in a fun manner. So, studying, you can use these tools to teach your little one.
and I think the reason that this works is because people like things that are new. Like if you think of the idea that like something novel, something new, like you're kind of like, what's that? So your kid is immediately going to notice a bunch of pictures next to the toilet that have never been there. But on the flip side, our brains are also wired for things that are familiar. So once you're getting to these new places, you've already familiarized them with what they're going to see. So they're feeling this comfort, they're feeling this ease, and they have
Right.
that already. So it's just, I don't know.
I think it's wonderful.
it sounds weird to be excited about it, but like it works. So it's so much fun, even like putting up a new one. Like my son is so excited, and we're pointing and talking, and it's awesome. Like you will get a lot of conversation from it.
I think also, like, when traveling and doing this, it will take the stress off of them as far as like, where are we going? What's going on? When are we leaving? Like, all of the what ifs is going to be gone because they're going to know exactly what's happening, where they're going. They're going to be excited to look for
Yeah.
things that they're going to enjoy, opposed to everything just kind of happening and they don't get to process it
Yes.
and enjoy it as much. And then getting home and being able to be like, I did everything on our board, which I think is incredible.
And I like it too because I like that both of these, like when I'm thinking about doing this right now, I'm talking about a 3-year-old and a almost 2-year-old, but I can see how these would have longevity forever. Like when your kids are getting older, to say to your, teenager, like, hey, find some spots. Like they know how to Google, find some spots that you want us to go see. Like, and they're helping to make that bucket list, or
Right.
they're helping to make the countdown for their sibling's birthday. And it could be a harder puzzle or a harder riddle that has to do with their present or their something. So like I feel like you can really continue on with this and kind of transfer some of that onto them to doing more of it as they get older.
And I love that you started this so young, that, parents don't have to wait until your little one is talking to you to
No.
start this.
Yeah.
Start at a really young age. Even if your little one's 6 months and you're traveling, you can work with them and have fun, and it's going to come to them quickly
Yes.
in doing this. Yeah.
Yay. So I love that one.
Yay. I love this. I think it's amazing. So, next one, which
So,
I cannot wait to learn about because I have two toddlers and we read books every night. So, let's talk about rotating books and how we should be doing this because I definitely rotate our books, but I'm probably
yeah.
not doing it right.
Well, I don't know that there's necessarily a right or wrong way, but I know that as a mom, you hear so many people talking about like rotate your toys. You shouldn't have too many toys. And so in my head, I was like, okay, well, I should probably be doing that for my books too. And so I started doing it, and there were some things that I was thinking through as a parent, things that I thought were important from the educational aspect that we just talked about, like reinforcing learning and long-term retention, but also that things that were just coming up with my son, even like emotionally, things that he was just typical age stuff that I was like, okay, well, we need to make sure we have books for this and books for that. And so my friend helped me think of a mnemonic so that I could kind of share with people like what is going through my head as I go to my closet stash or I go to the library to make sure that I'm including these books on these things. So I'm going to tell you the mnemonic is fresh. So you're trying to keep your library fresh. So you're just
Which I
remembering.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's so easy to remember. But I wouldn't get so much caught up on, I'm going to tell you what the letters are, but don't get so much caught up on like, oh, really? Is that sure? Are you sure that's not an S versus an H? More just so thinking like, I just want to make sure I'm including most of these things. Some of them you'll see will have an overlap. So the first one, I'll just tell you and then I'll show you. I'll just tell you the letters is favorites and interests, and then I'll explain it. Reach and relevant, emotions, seasonal, and harmony. So favorites and interests, reach, relevant, emotion, seasonal, and harmony. So the first one is favorites and interest. So this is my son, and I'm sure your kids too, have some favorites that like, if I read one more time that week, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yes.
But they're favorites. So this could be that book that I need a break from, but they are so elated to see come back. So I have my son, oddly enough, one thing I want to make sure I say to parents, do not ever let anyone tell you that graphic novels are not books, and do not let anyone ever tell you that your kid should only be reading at a certain level. And I'll explain a little bit more about that in a second. But this is probably geared towards middle school girls. Okay. So I was a middle school language arts teacher, and I finally started to purge some of my books, and my oldest found this. He was probably 2. In that time, this book is a graphic novel. So I'll just show you, there's a lot of pictures, but it's 250 pages.
Oh
The first time he found it at 2, he sat for the entire 250 pages in one sitting. This is his favorite book, and it was almost like the gateway book to bigger, like his gateway drug to bigger books. This is his absolute favorite. I had to pry it from his hands when he saw that I had like taken it out to show you. He was like, Mom, no. So this book is amazing. I have it marked here, but this is from my childhood, but if you were traveling with kids, this book is so much fun. It's called Lookalikes, and it has these great weird scenes. I don't know how well you can see it, but they're all made out of random objects. So to construct the scene, they're made out of like just the weirdest, like this is a drain thing, like just the weirdest things. My boys and I love this book. We have great conversations. So just books that they're happy to see. The other category with that is interest. So my son
that's the F.
Yeah, so favorites and things that they're interested in. So some of these could be things that they've read before, or some are just topics. Like my son loves the moon.
And one book per topic, correct? Or how many are we doing per topic?
I honestly I kind of don't have a set number. Like everyone's space is different. So you know your space. If you had 20 books, that would be too big for your shelf or too big. So I probably try to keep about 15 books total. So I'm probably doing a few for each thing. So they're having a couple favorites and a couple of interests.
And how frequently do you flip your rotation?
Probably every couple weeks. Sometimes more than others. Definitely on the seasons, you'll see that my one seasonal category, like it'll kind of just lend itself to like, oh, we're still reading holiday books and that holiday has passed type thing. But you'll kind of notice like when you think of like, gosh, what I have something coming up tomorrow and I need a mental break. I need something. What can I put out to grab their attention? The easiest thing for me that I can do that will literally get them entertained all day, even without me, is to put out books. Even my 1-year-old will sit there and just look through them like for hours. Like it's crazy. Yeah. So we do it kind of as a saving grace sometimes too. So just kind of feeling out, like you can know when it gets boring or whatnot.
Well, that's good to know. It's not something that it's going to be difficult for parents that you have to do every week and you have to put all this thought in. You can do this and it's good for a couple weeks and take your time to think through what books you're going to select, which is good.
Absolutely. And so here's just another, I think this would interest my son. He loves fairy tales. He's obsessed with them. So this is just a spin on a classic fairy tale, what really happened with the big bad wolf. And so I think he would like to hear like a spin-off. So I got that. So again, right now, this is just a couple books that he's seen and several that he has not. So that's the first one, favorites and interests. This next one is why I think you should never limit your kid to something that they say is on their level. I obviously think that it's important. Levels are in place for a reason. But if you think about like your own workout or your own whatever, if you stay doing the same thing every day, you're not going to get any stronger or any better. So I like to do what I call a reach. So I told you already that my son likes graphic novels. So I had this in the basement. This is called The Adventures of Hugo Cabret. It has tons of incredible images, but it has some parts where it is a little more text heavy. So if you look, there's images, 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 and then there are some sections where there's just text for a little bit.
Oh,
And
wow.
I don't know how he's going to do with this, but I'm willing to try it. Like, I want to see, like, hey, maybe he's not ready for this, but I'm kind like, as I'm seeing sort of, wow, I almost threw away, or not threw away, I was going to donate to another teacher friend that graphic novel, and now it's his favorite book. So I'm kind of like, hey, this might be our next move type thing.
Which
So
is
that's,
great because you give it a go, and then if it doesn't work, in your next cycle or your next
yes,
rotation, you can
yes, or
incorporate it again because they've
even
grown so
6 months
much.
from now. Yeah. So I
Right,
just,
right.
and then the other one is, so Reach covers 2 R's. So or R rather covers 2 R's. The Reach and then the Relevant. And the Relevant goes back to, like, what are we doing right now? Like, what's going on? This is reinforcing that long-term learning that we keep talking about. But we're getting ready to travel. So I have a couple books. Mind you, keep in mind, like, do not feel bad if you're like, how does she have these books? Like, I was a teacher forever, so I have a lot of these, but you can get any of this at the library. Like anything, like,
And a
since,
lot of libraries do like yearly kind of clean outs where they do giveaways.
yes, absolutely. And you
So
can,
you don't have to spend a fortune on new books because they are
no,
expensive. Books are everywhere.
yes. And so this one has things like kid friendly about the states. So I thought it might be fun as I look back at those like bucket lists to see, like, these are the states that we're going to, like, even just talking. So he's aware that, like, there's places other than where we live. So I grabbed that. And then we also have, he's starting school soon. So, like, a first day jitters book. This was always a popular one, like before something. And then I took it out, but I had the kissing hand. I don't know if you know the kissing.
Oh, it's my favorite.
So just kind of like relevant to what we're doing right now, like that is something he might need a little extra of. And then I just threw this one in because they never want to go to bed. So our neighbors gave us this. So the go to bed. Just go to bed. And then my E is emotions. And so I don't know how old your kids are, but 3 is 3. 3 is 3. It's tough.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying to find books that are about the tough thing we're doing in that moment. And so right now, my son is really into alphabets. He's also into, like, what can we do other than bite me, hit me, scratch me, or spit on me? So, like, Melissa Boyd, if you're not familiar with her, is a fabulous author. She does a lot of stuff on social emotional. This book I love because it gives some strategies you can try through the alphabet that are
Oh,
more
that's
optimal than
wonderful.
the things that I
Yeah.
listed. Yeah, she's amazing. So this book is a good one to, like, bring out. Again, you could say, oh, this is a favorite because we already owned it. So it could fit in a lot of categories. But for us right now, I'm kind of thinking of it as emotion. This is also about these are 2 fiction books. I don't know if you know Pig the Pug. Do you know this one?
No, I don't know that one, but it's super
Pig the
cute.
Pug is a great book. So if you have kids that do not want to share, Pig the Pug is the book for
My
you.
son needs that.
Yeah, so Pig the Pug, this is Pug, or this is Pig, he is a pug, and he does not want to share his toys with his friend Trevor. And so
Oh.
he kind of is hoarding all of them and, creates this big tower of them to keep them. And in the end, in doing so, he gets hurt and then he's casted. And then Trevor gets all of his toys while he just is, like, watching him. And so the thing that I like about fiction that's so powerful is that you're starting to see your kids kind of understand their world through someone else's world. And so, we've recently just started saying, I know it's really hard to share, but you're being like Pig. And so it was so funny because we just started, like, kind of talking in terms of fictional characters. And my son turned to his brother and goes, come on, Trevor. And that's not his brother's name, but that's he's just like, yeah, I am being
Isn't
like
it
him.
the best when they start to get what you're talking about and then they
Yes.
implement it in the moment? You're like, yes.
Yes. And so, so I feel like if I can find books for that emotional aspect, like maybe some strategies with a mix of just, like, a good story that has, like, learning to do those things. And then
Right.
seasonal is the next one. That's S. And this is a really good one for people who are like, I don't have all these books and I don't want to buy them. Seasonal is easiest to get from the library because these are the ones that they set up on those displays. So if you get there a couple weeks early, like, you are just like summer, spring, like whatever it is, like they put them out, grab them all, because that's usually what I do. But this is one that I could have put, like, we've been blowing tons of dandelions. I love this story. I wish you
Oh,
more,
yeah.
all the things you wish. But this could have been good for probably a couple weeks ago because we've already been doing it. But just to talk about that, I talked about how we're going to be doing some blueberries in Maine. So like blueberries for sale. Again, this is also a favorite. So it could fit in that other category. But you see how I'm kind of more just thinking like, oh, this is coming up. So like when I do it, I'm not as specific about what letter it is, but just awareness that it fits somewhere in that realm
Right.
of value. And then I have tons of great dad books for Father's Day. So You Made Me a Dad. I got this for my husband one of the first years from my sons. We also love Daddies Do. This book is so sweet about all the things daddies do. And then I don't have the dust jacket because I don't know if you know this story, but it's Meghan Markle's about the boy sitting on the bench. And it
Oh,
is the sweetest little poem about a dad and his son like sitting together. Um,
sweet.
and so this is the sweetest. So this is a really great Father's Day book. And then last season one I have with Memorial Day coming up. This is an alphabet book with a different letter for different things about heroes from the service. So,
That's awesome.
And then the last letter is harmony. So one of the things that is really important, and this is more sort of like people can decide what is important for their values and maybe substitute a letter or change something out. But it was really important for me as a educator and now mom to make sure that all of our books are not written by people that look like me and about people that look like me. And so I really wanted this harmony where the text have diverse characters and encourage harmony with others. So just my kids saying that not every kid is going to be a white kid with blue eyes because it's
Mm-hmm.
not. And
Right.
so I try to make sure that anytime I'm doing a display that I have some text put in my library that represent that. So here's just a few of our favorites. This book is so good. This is called Squeak, Rumble, Womp, Womp, Womp. And it has tons of onomatopoeia in it. So you are saying, like, as you're going through, like, it almost sounds like the beautiful music that it's like ting, ting, tap, tap, like you're
Oh,
saying.
fun. Yeah.
It is so much fun. My boys love this book. This one could be relevant, but it is not. I am not pregnant. So if this could fit in more categories, but if you were expecting a baby, this is a fabulous book about a little girl whose mom is expecting and she's really upset about it. And it sort of goes through the whole emotions of that. We love this book. And then I also love this one, Every Little Thing, sort of sings the Bob Marley song. And then my last one is, sorry, I take all the dust jacket things off because they rip them otherwise.
Oh, of
These
course they will.
by, these are by Peter Reynolds, and he has a bunch of books. This is called I Am Love. And the whole book
Oh,
is
that's sweet.
basically, and he has I Am Brave, I Am like courage, I am all these different things. So but this one has tons of people and it talks about another person having a hard time and how you sort of recognize that and that how you're loved and how you can work together. And so I just love like having something like that, like something out of us, like beyond just our little family, making sure I have that included in my mnemonic there. So the fresh is
Yes,
sort of,
fresh. I love that. And I love that, identifying emotions as well in harmony. I have a preschooler and seeing how the kids are just starting to like, oh, someone's having a hard day, let's help them.
yeah,
And instilling that at a very young age I think is amazing so that they know that, little Jimmy's having a hard day, they can go and help them, opposed to kind of stand back and watch and not know what to do and feel uncomfortable.
yeah, absolutely. So these are just a couple of things. I'm also part of, and I can share this later, but I'm also part of a new group called Raised with Awareness. It's a group of moms that are trying to be culturally sensitive and sharing books and other great resources that really align with that harmony category.
Hmm.
So if you're someone saying like, yes, I want to do this too, but I don't know how do I find out more book ideas than just the 3 you shared,
Right.
that's a great resource. And I have a book for that as another person who shares great things on Instagram that I'm like, okay, I've got to add this to my list of things to look at for the library. and then some occasionally buy, but mostly from the library, and just switching these out because that's what keeps it real and exciting for them. So,
Yeah. And then
yeah,
in a pinch, I know like personally I've used Apple Books. So like you can
yeah,
go on the Apple store if you're like, oh, you know, for example, my son in school is reading a book. He loved it. It was like that night. You can download a book. It's super cheap
yes,
and then you have it. And it's weird
yes,
from an older generation to be reading a book on a tablet, but it still
yeah.
gets the job done.
No, that's great. Yeah, we've done that. And we've also done some where we found some read alouds where we find someone else reading it and then he's like following along with them, which,
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
yeah, he loves that too. So some of our popular books that he really likes. Yeah. So, but I really do think these are just three things that I think people are already doing, and they're just slight tweaks to make sure it's including this extra thing, that I
Yes.
think can cumulatively have an advantage.
I think this is amazing because it's not a lot of work, you know, and
Yeah.
your children are getting so much out of what you're doing for them, and it makes things exciting. It makes them feel less anxious or nervous about. They're going to be knowledgeable about what's happening, when it's happening, and all those scaries are going to be gone. And
Yeah.
then at story time, which happens every day, they're going to be learning all these different things,
Yeah.
opposed to reading the same book every night and everybody's bored because we just do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Excellent. No,
Yes.
thank you so much for all
No
of these tips.
problem.
I can't wait to implement them with my
Yeah.
little ones.
But if
Yeah,
anyone has any questions, or they're like, how, you can message me down the road, like, what would you do for this? Or, can you remind me of things to include on the back of my countdown? Like, please message me and I would
yes,
be.
comment on this video. We're going to post it in our series on IGTV as well. We'll have it on our feed. So comment and we'll send it over to Jen, or you can
Yeah,
DM us and we'll send your question over. But
perfect.
I've learned so much. Thank you so much for sharing your
No
tips on
problem.
countdowns, bucket lists, and book rotations. I look forward to implementing all of these myself.